always tell students, like, imagine if I just handed this painting over to you at this stage, how much easier it would be to paint and finish than just blank canvas. All right, welcome to Paint Coach. If you're new to the channel, my name is Chris Fornatero, and I help thousands of students every single month get better at oil painting through my online courses and tutorials. Now, you might be making landscape painting a lot harder than it needs to be. This tends to be the case for most of my students. They do things like trying to get too much detail in too quickly and kind of work on one area to completion before moving on to another, or they're worrying about their brushwork right at the beginning of the painting, or they try to push things too far at the end of the painting and don't know where to stop. If these sound like you, you're going to get so much value out of this video. Got a 8x10 linen pail, so going small today, and put a wash of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue with some paint thinner, wiped it with a paper towel. My palette's going to be ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, burnt sienna, cadmium red, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow, cadmium lemon, and titanium white. And just to kind of help me gauge where my drawing's going, because I'm not always going to, you know, have it be exactly like, and as I'm drawing, I'm trying to see big shapes and light and dark and shadow shapes, like be able to look at it and know right off the bat. And I like to start with the darks. I kind of go through, I guess, object by object and break it down into light and shadow. So, you know, I like to start with the dark. So let's just start with I'm not going to do the darkest dark, but just kind of a general dark for this bush. So I'm just going to get some cad yellow, ultramarine blue, and a touch of crimson in there. A little more blue. So this isn't, you know, I'm going to put this in for this bush right here. It's not the darkest value I see. It's not the lightest. It's kind of in between. Could probably go ahead and put it in here too. Might as well. It's all similar color foliage. Thing I want you to always thinking about is comparing shapes. You know, I'm going to block everything out with big flat shapes, but I'm also comparing them. And don't get too precious about any shape or, you know, like I just put this in. Is it 100% perfect? I don't know yet until I'm going to get this in. I'm going to get this in. And then I'm going to start making some decisions, because I can get the relationship between the bush, the grass, and the path all in shadow. And hopefully I can get those working. So when I look at this, I think, okay, what is this compared to this? It's a little bit lighter. To me, it's a little cooler. Now, I know it's a little cooler because I know grass, the green in grass tends to be a little cooler than trees and everything else. And so I'm just going to branch off from this green with a cooler yellow, you know, my cad lemon. I'm still pulling in some of that green. I'm still kind of using it as a base. I'm just altering it. Whoop, did not mean to get that red in there. That's okay. Is these relationships, because this grass, it's lighter, but it's not that much lighter. And again, I'm not using the darkest dark that I see in this grass or the lightest dark. And again, I'm looking for the relationship to what I just put down. I'm really trying to think in terms of value more than anything else. And I'm not worrying about brushwork really right now. I'm worried about identifying shapes and getting them in kind of as efficiently as possible. Don't worry about brushwork just yet. My main goal right now is just covering the canvas with paint so I can make decisions. I'm going to take a quick break here and assume that if you're watching this video, you're into landscape painting, and there's probably nothing more important to know with landscape painting than composition. It's the first thing you do in the process. And I always say, if you don't get the composition right, it doesn't matter how well you paint your painting. That's why I've made my free composition coaching guide. It's a series of short, easy to understand videos that simplifies composition to something that you can actually implement in your next painting. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. kind of got like a shadow color in for every part of the painting. Now we're going to go through and put the lights in. You know, I don't want something too bright. That's the, I feel like that's the big mistake people make at this stage, is making the light side of their trees too bright. It kind of gives you nowhere to go in terms of adding lighter values to create more form. Now for the grass, let's mix up a color for the grass. I'm just going to push this one green, a little blue and a little yellow, making it not as like kind of dirty as that color, kind of more neon greenish. It's still going to be desaturated a little bit. I'm just kind of putting this along the edge here and have it kind of creeping up that little side of the hill. It's kind of indicating that. See, now I got more pieces of the puzzle. I can compare this to this, to this, to this, to this, this to this, that to this. Like, that's where you're going to, that's how you're going to dial things in. I don't need to capture every detail that I'm seeing back there. Just need it to sit in the distance. And then as I go to the light side, let's take that same color. Just a little blue, a little yellow ochre, touch of the cad lemon. Just trying to create a subtle shift. A little bit of crimson, the light side. All right. See, now we have the whole canvas covered with paint. And you can see like the scene is already reading. I always tell students, like, imagine if I just handed this painting over to you at this stage, how much easier it would be to paint and finish than just blank canvas. Now, where do we start? Start anywhere you like, but I tend to like to start with darks. And see, I'm structuring, but I'm also signaling with kind of my brushwork here in the edge of this shape. Now for these rocks, I'm going to try to indicate them a slightly cooler value. Not going through and painting individual rocks, but just kind of adding this variation of color is going to help it read a little more like rocks or gravel. So the edge is going to tell a lot. You know, if this was like a perfectly straight edge, it'd probably read more like pavement. You know, you got to think about things like that to help communicate, you know, what it is you're painting. Like, 'cause you don't want to go in there and paint every single little rock. Like, it's not important. You know, that's not what the painting's about. You don't want the person, you know, the viewer's eye to get caught up in here. I kind of, I don't know, I feel like I like to like move from one connecting object to another. And I'm never like, as I move along, I'm not saying like, oh, this is done, this is done. Like, I'm definitely going to come back to those. But I don't like to go too far too fast. Like to get a little bit of each area and kind of build it up as a whole. So I'm trying to go a little bit lighter. And a little bit warmer with kind of the center parts of this path. Because it gets darker as it goes towards the outside. I feel like just doing that just did a lot. And I'm thinking about which way this, you know, the sun's coming from this right side, so it's kind of just be mainly this right side of this form. They're going to get hit with it more. I can also signal texture with my brushwork at this point. Kind of like that. It's very simple. This is where I'm signaling with edges, kind of breaking up these shapes a little bit. Don't need to do it too much. Now I need to go to the other side and kind of push the light just a little bit more. Find one more lighter value. I'm also thinking about where this lighter value be. It's going to be more on the right of any form. So like here, kind of keeping this bright, keeping that a little darker, give it that form. Maybe some of these drift up into the shadow. Oh, there. I'm actually not going to put any of the tree trunks. I don't know, just feel like it's not necessary. But when it comes time to this stage, you can also use negative space, especially with trees, meaning the space behind it, you can cut back. Get it to read more how you want it to. One more signal thing. I just want to really kind of get this to read like fog back here. So I'm going to let a lot of these shapes blend together. Let the paint blend together. Clean my brush. Soft edge, signaling. Signaling fog. A lot of soft edges back here, letting everything just kind of fade. And this is why I feel like working this way is so helpful of constantly moving around the painting, because when I was painting this earlier, I didn't know exactly how light to make these, but now that I have other parts of the painting in, it's kind of more obvious to me. And you know, maybe I put these in, maybe I don't like them. You know, like that's, you know, like bring it back. That's totally fine. It's weird. I like that one light blue mark back there. I want to put more of that in. Because also at this point, I'm probably like, this is where you can deviate from the reference more, and you should be paying attention more towards your painting and what needs to happen for your painting, and not just trying to copy. And it's like, oh, I kind of want to push this coolness back there a lot more. When it's really small like this, you can do your initials. I'm just going to do, I kind of have my signature. Now, if you want to see the full hour-long version of this tutorial, along with literally hundreds of others, all taught by me, you can do that inside Paint Coach Studio. And if you give any of them a try, you can post your work inside the Paint Coach private Facebook page. It has close to 1,000 members. It's a great, positive painting community that you really want to be a part of. If you'd like to check it out, you can try it free for 7 days. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. All right, I'm Chris Fornatero, here telling you to go get painting.